Oh, yeah. Brutal.
All right, Council, thank you for your patience. We are live again for part 2.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question through to Barb. Barb, when we talked about the $165,000 that goes to the library in kind, we contribute $20,000 to FCSS, or 20% to FCSS. Do we incur any other costs other than the 20% to FCSS as we do with the library?
Sorry, through the mayor to the councillor. No, not at this point we don't, because they are actually separating from us, so they have not requested any additional items in kind. They will be doing that now on their own. And in the same portion, we will no longer be charging them any admin fees because we will not be doing that on their behalf.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You look like you were going to say something. Good. Anything else? Nope. Next.
Okay, the next and last one was the priority list for asphalt overlays. Kathy, do you have that?
Through the chair to the rest of council, I do have a very long list of areas that require asphalt overlays. However, our engineering team have 3 priorities that should be done within the next 2 years. And the first one would be on 47th Avenue between 52 and 55 streets, 47th Avenue between approximately 58th Street and 64th Street, just north of the airport. And then the other one is kind of zigzagging in behind our public works area on 51 Street, 52 Street, Green Ash Drive, and 56th Avenue.
Any questions about that? Councillor Billingsley.
So, through the chair I'm not sure. So, this information was given to us to decide if we possibly add these ones or take the one away by the museum. Like, what was the rationale of getting this information? Sorry for not quite remembering.
No, that's okay.
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, the discussion started about how we pick the roads and why which roads, and there were other roads that people think were a higher priority. So I think knowing the list is good. We should actually have that up on our website so that everybody kind of knows, keeping in mind that based on how we winter, we would adjust those. There was an opportunity as well. Part of the discussion was we had grant dollars left. So do we add more roads? Do we not? Do we save the money? So that was kind of the discussion, and council had just asked what other roads were the priorities. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Kathy. When we do these roads, do we camera underneath to make sure that there is no rehabilitation required?
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, we have done, I want to say, about 3/4 of the city of closed circuit television inspections already. Our engineering team is reviewing all of that data right now. With this list for the asphalt overlays, at this point it's just surface. They're still reviewing the underground, so once that's done, those 3 priorities may shift slightly depending on what our underground inspections look like. But yes.
And there, thank you. And there was something about 40th Avenue, that there's underground work required there?
Yes, that's correct.
So was that cameraed before the other work was done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So to follow up, do we have the money sitting there, and more, well, maybe not more importantly, or equally as important, do we have the capacity to do the work or have the work sent out? Through the chair to Sue, I guess, or Kathy.
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, we have the grant money that we've identified. I don't know where we're at now with all the ins and outs. And adding a few streets onto an existing contract is very little extra work for staff.
And I think, as a rule, administration is taking advantage of all of the grant dollars or all of the infrastructure tax reserve money to do the work that they can in that given season.
Correct. We will capitalize on the grant money first before spending our own, but yes.
So for confirmation, these could and may happen then this year, or 2023? Or do we need to give direction?
Yeah, only if council adds money to our budget.
Okay, so there isn't money. That was my first question. Do we?
I thought if we had the money, it was things that would get done.
So the priority this year is out by RAM to finish that piece.
Mhm.
And there was one other little piece on there, wasn't there, Kathy?
There is the 55th Avenue, but that's part of that entire neighborhood
Right.
renewal project, not necessarily the overlay component.
Yeah. So if council wanted more done than out at RAM, we could capitalize on the grant funding, but we would need, some sort of approval to say, yes, increase, spend this much. Typically, what we do in the overlays and sidewalks is we maximize the entire budget. So if council says, you got 2.5 million, get done what you can, we'll go as far as we can with 2.5 million. Right now, we have 1.7, I believe, is what we've asked for. So if council wants us to look at more, then we can add those on. Kathy, do you have costs, estimates for those, or they were just on the list?
They're just on the list right now, but we're working on cost estimates.
And we can give direction, like when would you put those out for tender?
If it's just an asphalt overlay, we could tender before the end of the year.
Okay, so then you'll have those costs back for those other priorities, and we can give direction then at our December 12th meeting saying to go ahead with $400,000 more in overlays.
We could, yes.
We'll have to do it on the November 28th when you approve budget.
Yeah.
Even if it's grant money?
Well, no, I guess we could wait, but the earlier the better.
For sure. Yes.
The only caution would be is that, again, with it being election in the spring, is that we won't get MSI approval probably till after the election.
Sorry. We always put a caveat in our tender saying pending approval. So if we don't get it, we have time to cancel before the frost comes out of the ground. Yep.
I have all the confidence in the world that MSI and LGFF will be there
In big numbers, in big numbers.
in numbers.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's look at a spreadsheet. Oh, go ahead. What are we missing?
The charger?
Oh,
Yeah, I never did hear back. I can send it to council. We can talk about it on the Monday meeting, and we could add it into budget approval for the 28th. As soon as I hear back, just let me double check that he hasn't emailed me.
The car charger.
Yeah, I haven't heard back yet, so I'll follow up in person tomorrow.
And I don't think it's going to be a huge budgetary number, just because of the electrical part is all done. It's just a matter of putting a pay box on there that it's no longer a free service, right?
It may or may not be that simple, but we'll get the information. And then there's, of course, the grant that Councillor Blatt spoke about, so we'll look into that as well. Okay. Is it in the O drive?
Let's take bets.
I need the name, please. Is it the 2023 to 2026 operating summary overview, 2023?
Dean.
Okay. Okay.
Wayne?
What?
Smith. I've got a heart defibrillator here going.
Okay, so started off with an 8.42 impact on the base budget. Compensation survey does not affect because it was in from reserves. COLA is in there, brings us to 11.29. Then, can you keep scrolling, Karen? The airport tax strategy is a loss of 51,500, so we go up to 11.61. And then the parks infrastructure maintenance takes us up to 11.7. Can you keep scrolling? The reduction of the equipment pool transfer takes us down to 10.09. Removal of Yeti, 10.02. Removal of the contracted fitness class, 9.96. The addition of a half ME takes us up to 10.18. Reduction of library takes us down to 9.93. And then we had an in-camera that we'll have a motion coming out of. Where did that put it? That was 8. Sorry, we had to hide it.
Sorry, I removed it altogether, but that would be about $320,000 reduction, depending on what options council went with.
Sorry, I'll just, oh, we can type it right in, yeah. $7.95. Okay, so that's where we've landed. That doesn't include any of the other things we've talked about potentially with fees and charges and that sort of stuff.
Karen, could you roll that screen back up for me, please, to
Just make sure your mic's on, please.
It is, I'm just mumbling, sorry. Yeah, COLA. So the COLA that's in there now is the full 7.4? Just 4?
I will make two. I will make one proposal to utilize our stabilization reserve for .25%. So 363,000 from stabilization.
In addition to what was there?
Correct.
So that takes...
To further reduce.
So the draw on stabilization would be what then?
Was there already a draw? There wasn't a draw on stabilization, was there? For just a...
Oh, yeah, no, right. No, right, I was looking at the 320,000 being stabilization.
No.
It wasn't, no.
No. So that would put us at a 5.45. With, no, sorry. That would put us at a 5.7 2.25%. I said 364.
Okay.
I didn't get the $75,
Sue?
but you're still impressed, aren't you?
The in-camera item wasn't for the whole year. Okay, just, Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the city manager, the in-camera item, is that for the full year?
Brenda can explain.
Thank you.
What we were doing was eliminating, after Q2, the cost. So we were eliminating $160,000 in cost, and then the $160,000 for the first 6 months, we were funding $67,000 from one reserve and $93,000 from stabilization. Yeah, it was suggested, but there was, it was left there.
So I would have discussion on the 2.25% from stabilization, if there's an appetite. Go ahead.
I'll say my piece. I understand why it's there. I understand why we're using it. 5.7 is a whole lot more palatable than 11.3, obviously. My big concern in my soapbox is we're definitely kicking a whole lot of issues down the road to next year. So it's not going to be as tough as it was this year. It's certainly going to be probably very similar next year. So it is what it is.
Yeah. See, and for me, it's the contract change with the RCMP. We don't have something like that coming, and I mean, roll the dice, anything could pop up between now and next year, but I don't think we're going to be facing what we were facing this year in terms of a tax increase.
So to speak to what you're saying, I will support the stabilization for this year.
Okay, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to administration, I too agree with what we're doing. Will there be any change in service levels with the budget that's being proposed?
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, other than the in-camera and the fitness, I don't believe there were any other level of service changes.
Councillor Nielsen.
Chip, who?
Councillor Nielsen.
Wasn't sure.
It was mid-hiccup.
And I know it isn't, it's in relation to Councillor Billingsley's remarks. And yes, we got hit with the RCMP increases, but their negotiated increase moving forward from here, do we know what that is? So they've only gone up to this year, so they'll be in the whole negotiating again for next year?
I think they're going to start negotiations in 2023, but when that ends, I couldn't tell you.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope that they've learned that taking 5 years to renegotiate a contract has a significant $800,000 impact on a small little municipality like ours. So I couldn't imagine what the Grand Prairies and the Red Deers are facing in terms of a contract change. So I'm hoping that the contract doesn't take 4 or 5 years, but.
There was something on that. Karen, do you mind bringing back up that spreadsheet, please? Unfunded, oh, stop. The new municipal website, and I know that we've gone through everything. If that was brought in, that's a one-time only that could be funded out of some form of a reserve to,
Talking about the RCMP?
no, the municipal website.
Oh, the municipal. Oh.
I don't know what the appetite on that is, but for me, it's,
Candace?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, there is an ongoing tax impact as well. You can see there $9,404. But the large portion is a one-time cost. However, in the actual business case that we drafted, this is not accounted for in our current corporate business plan. So something would have to come out of our corporate business plan if this were to go in. This would be a very large project and have a lot of impact on our staff capacity because it's not just a communications contract. All staff would have to be very heavily involved to ensure that the information is written correct and accurately as well.
So what I'm understanding is it's a really good idea and we should do it right away?
We did, through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, it did make the top list when we were creating that corporate business plan. However, it was pushed to year 5 with SLT's creation of that plan.
Thank you.
No,
Are you talking about the website?
yes.
Okay, can we talk about the stabilization part and then
Certainly.
work through it
Yeah.
piece by piece? Any other discussion on using 2.25% from stabilization to reduce taxes in our 2023 tax rate? Green foamy, red foamy. Carried unanimously. Councillor Nielsen.
So I understand having to take something out of the corporate business plan to address the website. I would be interested in investigating that a little bit further to see what would come out in terms of replacing what is in. I think our website is a bit of a communication albatross for us. And I don't know, I'm not here saying, yeah, let's take X out to put this in, but I'm not sure that this doesn't warrant more attention than perhaps something else, but I don't know what that something else would be. I just think we've talked about our website now ad nauseum, and I'm doing it again. And I would certainly like to put this one to rest, some way, shape, and form.
Sue?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, this, I was reminded by Mr. Edgington, this would be a really great discussion for the council retreat. We're hoping to get it really early in the new year and have council have a look at the goals and our corporate business plan to see if you want us to shift priorities.
And when
Really early in 2023. We haven't nailed down a date yet.
won't even be here, I'm sure. I hope. Okay, that's, I would appreciate it being at least a discussion item. And again, I'm not trying to preempt something coming out of it, but I'd like to see something change there. But I'm not sure that's necessarily the will of this group.
So having it as something we're going to talk about soon-ish, is that okay? Or do you want to put forward a motion to say that we look at it soon?
Soon-isher.
Soon?
Soon-isher.
But then if it is going to be, sorry, through the chair, so if it is going to be soonish, or soonisher, do we need to put some money aside for that? Because it would happen soon-ish.
But if something is coming out of the corporate business plan that has $1 attached to it already, not only will the activity potentially change, but the resources attached to it may go with. Assuming you can get like-minded, like-costed items switched over.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I'm looking at the projected reserve balance sheet that was there, information technology has got a reserve. So would the information technology be what we might be looking at and could take the money out of there?
I'll defer to Candace.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Elliott, that is for like our technology, like our hard assets, so replacement of computers and those pieces, not necessarily our website. It wasn't budgeted as part of that. So we would look to probably the stabilization or contingency reserve if that were coming forward.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me.
It says it all. Now it's Sue's turn.
Anything further? Well, I would like to thank all of council for all of the work that they've done over the last 3 days, the time spent in public budget consultations, staff time that was put into all of this, the staff that were a part of the public budget consultations as well, and I had been dreading going through budget for a long, long time, knowing what we were going to be looking at, and I think that I can safely say that we're all pretty proud of the work that we've done over the last few days to make sure that we aren't looking at a double-digit tax increase, but we're able to find some ways and some efficiencies, and hopefully our residents and business owners can appreciate the work that's gone into this as well, so thank you. Councillor Elliott also has... No. No.
No, you've got a motion coming out of camera.
No, not out of camera, but you also have a motion before we adjourn. You were going to ask council. Okay. 100% it is. No, please.
Okay, I'm asking for money.
No problem.
In the don't hit me. In the last week, I've been at the Community Justice Center meeting, Community Safety and Wellbeing meeting, the unhoused population meeting, and Mayor Gandam and I were yesterday with the Community Justice Center, and we found out that there is a Diverse Voices Conference next week, 16, 17, 18. It's virtual. I would like to attend. It's all about family violence, abuse, unhoused people. They're bringing in, it's 3 days. They're bringing in experts from all over North America to talk about this. Registration fee is $240. And I'm just asking if I would like to make a motion that I be allowed to attend this Diverse Voices Conference next week.
Allowed to attend and registration costs covered by the city.
Thank you. That's what I meant.
Any discussion? Questions of Councillor Elliott? I don't know. Can you make your own motion to ask for that? Or does somebody have? No, yeah, you can make your motion. Motion's made. Sorry. It's been a
And
long
may I
week.
just suggest if somebody wants to look at what's happening there, you can go to diversevoices.com and it will outline all the presenters and everything, and it's really, there's a lot of material going to be shared. Thank you.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried.
And I have the in-camera motion I'll put up on the screen.
Yep, go ahead.
To the chair, part of that funding was coming from another reserve.
Yeah.
So there was 2 reserves that were funding it. $93,000 from the stabilization reserve, and $67,000 from an additional reserve.
You want the numbers specifically?
Oh, okay.
Councillor Billingsley?
I move that City Council directs administration to eliminate and transition out of the program as identified in the in-camera discussion on November the 9th, 2022, by the end of Q2 2023, and that funding to support the program in 2023 to be taken out of the stabilization reserve and an additional reserve.
Moved by Councillor Billingsley. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anything further from administration? Anything you'd like to add from 3 days of budget deliberations?
I would also like to thank everyone for being patient with us while we gathered all of the information that you needed. And we plan to do a budget debrief with all of you, so think about what went well, what didn't, and what we can change for next year. Thank you to the staff.
Also, Mr. Mayor, when we're communicating to the public about dollars being expended in 2023, can we highlight the major expenditures that what we'll be spending? Just some of the, like I think of the $800,000 obviously for RCMP, but there's a $100,000 increase in utilities at the Manlick Center and those kinds of things. And I think the public needs to be aware, our fuel costs have gone up, those kinds of things, and they need to be aware that those are nitty-gritty things that are happening that we didn't have any control over whatsoever. So to work through the budget and come up with what we did, I agree with you. It's been a lot of hard work, and I just appreciate the input of everybody here, the staff, for their insights and input, and the experience and knowledge shared by council as well. So thank you.
Comments from the rest of council?
I concur with everything that was said. I was really scared to start coming here Monday morning. Lots of decisions that I didn't know how to make, and so my thank you to administration always, because I think that your job is not easy at all, and I don't envy you, but also to my colleagues for helping me try to figure things out in this weird head of mine, and all of us for keeping it light where we could so we can leave the end of the day knowing we've done a good job. So thank you.
All right, we will. Go ahead, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you to everyone except for Mayor Gandham. Bullied me throughout this whole process. No, thank you to everybody that was here for the past 3 days, because this was not easy. I think this was my fourth budget anyways, but this was one of the harder ones that I've been a part of. And honestly, it's been not that scary as I thought it was going to be. Number one, this is, I think, the first budget where we've actually ended on time every day, and so that was nice. But also the fact that, aside from half an hour, don't look at the clock. But honestly, I thank administration thoroughly, because finding the efficiencies that you guys have, I don't know how you guys even did it. So thank you so much, and thank you to my council colleagues for all the hard work you guys have done for the past few days. I feel like I get smarter every time I'm in this room.
Yeah, you'd think you'd be smarter.
I was going to say, we expect so much more. And now it's actually Karen's second budget, so could you imagine if it was only your first?
I don't know if I would have been less confused, so it's really fine.
Adjourn your meeting.
Meeting adjourned.